Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing another 24-hour reading vlog. I know I only did one of these last month, but I had so much fun with it and I'm really excited to be doing it again. In the last 24-hour readathon that I did, I realised that the best method for me is the timer method, but doing 12 hours one day and 12 hours the next. Honestly, it was so peaceful. It was not as chaotic as my usual 24-hour reading vlogs. I still get my much needed beauty sleep. I swear by the 12 and 12 method. So that's what we're going to be doing today, but I woke up this morning knowing I was going to be doing this video and I honestly, for the life of me, could not choose any sort of TBR, like even one book to start with. My plan was originally to mood read for this vlog, but I am unable to make decisions. So instead, we are going to be letting Instagram choose my TBR for this entire readathon. And honestly, I'm so excited about it. I cannot wait to see the books that you guys pick out. I did already put up a poll for our first book, just because I wanted to give it a little bit of time before I started reading. So I picked out two books that I'm really excited about. Both of these are actually on my August TBR, and they are both fantasy. So I popped up a poll for Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong and The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Both of these sound incredible to me. I am definitely in a fantasy mood this morning. We will probably read all sorts of genres throughout this readathon, but we're going to start with fantasy. So I put up that poll maybe like an hour and a half ago now. So I'm going to go ahead just now and see what book we're going to be reading first. So as it stands, we have a clear winner, and that is The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches. That one is currently at 60%, Immortal Longings only at 40%, so a very clear winner. Honestly, I'm really excited that you guys chose this one. I've been meaning to read this one for so long. I feel like it's been on a few TBRs for me now and I've heard only good things. It sounds like such a good, cozy, witchy fantasy. And I think that's the perfect thing to start off this readathon with. So I'm going to go ahead and get comfy, get the timer started, and we're going to start reading our first book. So I've been reading for just over an hour and I thought I'd do my first little check-in. I am doing this readathon with my two besties, Mads and Christy. We decided to do this 24-hour readathon over the weekend together, so I am on sprints with them here. We're going to be sprinting for the entire weekend, just reading and having fun together, and I am so excited. So we've just done our first sprint and I managed to get to page 79 of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I am loving this book so much. It is so cute and cozy and witchy. Honestly, the perfect book to start this readathon with. We are following Mika, who is a young witch. In this book, witches are very solitary individuals. They do not tend to spend very much time together at all, purely because it is very dangerous to be a witch. You do not want to be found out, and if witches congregate together, having that amount of magic all in one place can be very dangerous. It can lead to accidents, it can be uncontrollable, so they tend to live very solitary lives. And then Mika is part of a sort of society that meet once a year, I believe, just for like a little catch up, and then they go on with their lives again. And she is posting videos online where she is pretending to be a witch, hoping that no one will actually believe she is a witch. She's just going with the whole witchcore vibe. But funnily enough, this guy Ian, who lives at Nowhere House, believes that she is actually a witch and hires her to come and work at Nowhere House to be a live-in tutor for 3 3 young witches in his and a group of people's care. So the owner of the house is Lillian, who is a witch herself, and then we have Ian and Ken, who are a gay married couple who work on the grounds there. They're the cutest things. I love them so much. Then we have Lucy, who is the housekeeper, and we have Jamie, who is the grumpy librarian. And they're such an odd, interesting group of characters. We then have the 3 young children. We have Terracotta, Rosetta, and what's the last one called? I remember it begins with A. We have Terracotta, Rosetta, and Altamira. They're all orphaned witches. I should also mention that witches in this are always orphaned. I don't know if it's like some sort of curse on witches or what, but whenever a witch is born, their parents die, basically. So these are 3 orphans that Lillian has found in different destinations and brought them all to live together at this house. But because there's 3 of them and because they have no knowledge of magic or being a witch, their magic is very out of control, so they need someone to tutor them to keep them safe. And that's where Mika comes in. So she's just arrived, she's just settling into this house, getting ready to tutor these 3 young girls in magic. And it's just the most wholesome thing. It kind of gives me House in the Cerulean Sea vibes, that sort of like family of odd characters all living in this house by the sea. And Mads has told me that I am not ready for the romance. So I feel like I'm really gonna love this one. I'm just loving the witchy vibes so much. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get a good chunk of this read in the next sprint. Alright guys, so I've been reading for about 2.5 hours now, and I've just hit the halfway point of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches on page 163. I am still absolutely loving this. It is so cute, like ridiculously cute and cozy, and I'm loving seeing the romance develop, because it's not a spoiler to know that the romance does develop with Jamie, the grumpy librarian. I'm pretty sure it says it in the blurb, and if not, it is very obvious very quickly. And it's so funny watching Mika and Jamie get to know each other, because I keep waiting for Jamie to be less grumpy, but he's still just as grumpy, but also falling for her, and he's like not happy about it and questioning it, and it's just so funny to read. I'm falling in love with all of the characters in this little found family. It's just giving the best cutesy cozy witchy vibes. But because we're halfway through this one, I am going to put up the poll for the next book, and I'm feeling a thriller next, so I've picked out 2. I've got None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, which is on my August TBR. This is Lisa Jewell's newest release, and I am so excited about it. It does have a podcast element, which is one of my favourite thriller tropes, so I'm kind of hoping this one's gonna win. But I have chosen another one that I'm really excited for as well, which is The Understudy by B.A. Paris, Claire McIntosh, Holly Brown and Sophie Hannah. I've spoken about this one on my channel a couple of times. I am super excited to read it because it is written by 4 different authors. I think the 4 authors will be writing 4 different characters, and those characters are 4 mothers whose daughters all go to like a very prestigious ballet school, and then there's an attempted murder at this ballet school, and the story goes from there. But it's given me rich people drama, and like I said, I'm really excited to see how these 4 authors will work together. So I am going to quickly take a photo and pop this poll up. Okay, that has now been posted, so I'm going to go ahead and finish The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and then we'll come back and see which book I'll be reading next. Alright guys, I've been reading for just over 5 hours, I think, and I have just finished my first book of the readathon. I have finished The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. I absolutely adored it. It was such a cute, cozy fantasy with one of my favourite romances. I loved the romance in this one. I love Jamie, the grumpy librarian, so much. His character is just everything. The found family in this has my heart, and just all of the discussion in this about belonging, about being different, about loneliness, sort of like finding your people. I just loved it. It was such a cute, charming read, and I would highly recommend. And the witchy vibes were just immaculate. Honestly, I could see myself rereading this in autumn, which is very swiftly coming around the corner, because it'd just be the perfect cozy. Once again, autumnal read. But it is time to check our poll and find out what the second book of the readathon is going to be. I have hope that the one I want to win will win. So, okay, yeah, it has won by a landslide. So we have an 80% to 20% vote. And the book that I'm going to be reading next is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I am a huge Lisa Jewell fan, as you guys will know if you've been watching my videos for a while now. I just eat up her thrillers. They're always so fast paced, usually twisty, and just completely addictive. And I have been dying to read this one because the premise just sounds so interesting to me. And the fact that it has a podcast element is basically all I need to know. Whenever there is a podcast in a thriller, for some reason I just love it. Like any sort of multimedia elements in a thriller usually make them 100 times better. Looking at all the people that have blurbed this on the back, it's so random because I feel like most of them are thriller authors. Like we've got Louise Canlish, Ruth Ware, Claire Douglas, Harriet Tice, Adele Parks, Gillian McAllister, and then the top review is Emily Henry. Why is that so? That's just so random to me. Like I don't know if I've ever seen a romance author blurb a thriller book before, especially because the rest of them are all thriller authors, and then we've got Emily Henry saying twisty, twisty, twisty. I mean, I love Emily Henry and I love Emily Henry's writing, so if she loved this, hopefully I will also love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started now, and I'll probably catch up with you somewhere around the halfway point for our next poll. I've been reading for about 9 hours now, so we're getting close to the halfway point. We're getting close to the 12-hour mark so that I can go to bed and continue this tomorrow. But I have reached the halfway point of None of This Is True. I'm actually just over halfway, so I'm on page 210, and I think this is like just less than 400 pages, and Lisa Jewell has done it again. I cannot stop reading. Every single one of her books that I read, once I start, it is impossible to stop. She just makes them so fast-paced and so full of intrigue. You just don't want to stop turning pages. We're following Josie and Alex is a podcast host, and she meets Josie one night when they're both out celebrating their 45th birthday, and it turns out they have the same birthday. They are birthday twins, and Josie basically propositions Alex into starting a new podcast about Josie because she feels like she is about to change her life. Like everything is about to change for her, and she thinks it'd be interesting to document that sort of journey. So they start the podcast, and it becomes quickly clear that Josie's life is complicated and pretty dark as well. More is uncovered each podcast episode, and the book is so interesting because of the format. We have normal prose from both Josie and Alex's perspectives, then we have the dialogue within their podcast, and then we have transcripts from a Netflix documentary series that seems to be about the podcast and what came after the podcast and what was opened up through this podcast about Josie, and maybe some things that happened while they're filming the podcast and how things sort of played out. I am at the halfway point and I still don't really know what is going on. Like I have no idea how this one is going to end. Josie is a very interesting character. Like at the very beginning, basically, we find out that she is in a relationship with a guy who was 42 when she met him, and when she met him she was 15, and they got together at that point, and then they were married by the time she was 18. They've been together ever since. They've brought up children together. She has very much lived a sort of like typical housewife life, and now she's looking back on all that and sort of questioning things. but it seems that there's a lot more to it. Like, that's dark enough, the fact that she was groomed as a 15-year-old, but it seems like there's more to it, and I'm not entirely sure yet what that entails. I do have some theories about what is going on within that family, with the daughters, with the family as a whole, but I'm definitely not 100% convinced of my theories yet. I feel like this could be a super twisty one. Like, it's already starting to sort of slowly turn on its head, and people you thought you could trust, you're slowly realising maybe you can't. But I feel like we've got some big twists ahead, like in the second half of the book. Honestly, I have no idea where this one could go, but I am so excited to find out. Cannot stop reading it. I feel like I'm reading it super fast as well, so I will definitely be finishing this one within the next couple of hours, and then I should have some time to start another book as well before I go to sleep tonight. So we need to put up our next poll. It's 9:10, so we're still within a good time frame to put up another poll, and I'm feeling like I might go over romance next. We've had a fantasy and a thriller so far, so I feel like it's only fair that we have some romance representation up in here as well. So I do have a romance that is on my TBR for the month, and that is Love on the Island by Jessica Gilmore. This one sounds like a good summer holiday romance, so it could be a lot of fun to start tonight. I do feel like I need like an easy read as well. That's another reason I want to go for a romance. I feel like at this time of night, a romance is probably one of the best things to go for. But I have no idea what to put this one up against. I thought about putting it up against Reckless, which is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series, because I do obviously really want to finish off that series, or at least be up to date with it. But I feel like anything I put against that, Reckless is going to win. So there's basically no point in doing that poll. So I have a couple of other options. I've got Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher, which is the 2nd book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I did read the 1st book in my previous 24-hour readathon, so it would maybe be nice to continue the series in this one. I also have The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I do love Beth O'Leary's writing, and I usually speed through her books, and it would be good to make some more progress on her backlist. I don't know. Okay, I think I'm going to put it up against The No-Show. I feel like this one could be more of a fun read. For some reason, I feel like Terms and Conditions might be like slightly more dense. Although I was pleasantly surprised by how easy the fine print was to read. No, I'm going to put it up against The No-Show. I feel like these are two like cute, fun, fluffy romances. So yeah, let's create a poll. Okay, the next poll is officially up on Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead, finish off the This Is True, and then we'll come back and find out what's next. Alrighty guys, I have very nearly been reading for the 12 hours, and I have just finished None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and I'm going to give this one, I think I'm going to go as far as to give it 4.5 stars. Now that I am a half-star sort of gal. This one was so good. I think it is my favourite Lisa Jewell book I've read yet. Even if I wasn't doing this as part of a readathon, there is no way I would have been able to put it down. It was just so full of intrigue. It was so gripping. I didn't want to stop reading for 1 second. I did not want to stop turning pages. We've been doing sprints tonight, and it was difficult just to stop for 5 minutes for a little check-in in between sprints. It was so cleverly written. The way that Lisa Jewell has put prose and the aspects of multimedia together is just honestly masterful. And towards the end, when we're building towards the sort of like climactic ending, the pacing is just done so well. We've got these short snippets of the prose, and then we've also got this sort of Netflix documentary style transcripts, which have been done so well because they're so reminiscent of those Netflix true crime documentaries that I love to watch. It was so twisty right up until the end. Like, I couldn't call any of it, I don't think. Like, I had some inklings towards certain things that happened in this book, but I could never have guessed the entire thing like all wrapped up because there were so many different aspects to this. This one does also include an unreliable narrator, which you guys know is one of my favourite tropes, so to have multimedia aspects and an unreliable narrator, this was always going to be a good book for me, but I just think the way Lisa Jewell wrote this was just amazing. It's definitely a dark one, it definitely does delve into some very difficult content, but I think that it was all handled really well, and yeah, favourite Lisa Jewell to date, I think. It's definitely up there with The Family Upstairs, and I'm so happy that I read this one for the readathon. So, another book down. I have about half an hour left, but of reading for today if I want to go all the way to the 12-hour mark, which I would really love to do because I want to do as much reading today so that I have less to do tomorrow. So let's go ahead and check the poll and see which of our romances has won. Oh my, this one is so freaking close. So we have a winner at 51%, and that is Love on the Island by Jessica Gilmore. So this is the book that I'm going to be picking up next. I am super excited for this one. This one is an arc. I believe it is coming out very soon now, and it does have a character in it called Indy, which I'm super excited about. I'm sure I said this in my August TBR. I don't think I've ever read a book where the main character has my name, apart from I think it was Secrets by Jacqueline Wilson. When I was younger, I'm sure there's an India in that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I have said that I'm a little bit wary of this one just because the blurb makes it sound like there could be possibly cheating in this, and if there is, I'm gonna struggle because cheating's just one thing that I just cannot handle no matter the context. It's just a no-no for me, so we shall see. This one is less than 300 pages. It's 287 pages, so hopefully it's going to be a nice quick read. So I'm gonna go ahead, get myself comfy in bed now I think, and do my last half hour of reading. We have just over 8 hours to go on the timer, and I've just hit the halfway mark of Love on the Island. I'm actually really enjoying this one so far. It does not involve cheating, which I'm very happy about. We're following two sisters and we get both of their perspectives, which I did not expect. I thought this was purely going to be from Indy's perspective or maybe the love interest as well. But it's nice to get the two sisters. So we have Indy, who is just about to turn 30. She likes to plan out every little detail of her life. She has a plan, she's very organised, she thinks everything is on this trajectory that she has planned out for her. And then on the night that she thinks her boyfriend Will is going to propose to her, he instead tells her that he is not happy and he is leaving to go travelling and he does not want this life that she has planned out for them. We then have Jade, her little sister, who Indy has basically mothered ever since their dad died, and their mum hasn't. Their mum has always loved them, but she is a very like artistic type who is sort of like in her own little world. So Indy has like basically parented Jade since she was about 12, I believe. So she's very overprotective of her, and the two are very, very close. But Jade is currently in Greece. She is working abroad for the summer and she falls in love with Nico, who lives there. And on the night that Indy thinks she's going to get engaged, Jade gets engaged to Nico instead. So we then have Indy going across to the Greek island to who have to spite Will to show that she can be spontaneous and she can have fun, and have to talk Jade out of this engagement and get her to come home to England because Indy believes this is not a good idea, it's a mistake. So she goes to stay in this massive villa where Jade is staying, which is the villa of her employer, her boss, who also happens to be Nico's cousin, Mikos. And Indy is going to try and talk Jade out of this engagement, while Jade is going to try and prove to Indy that she has her life together, she knows what she wants, she's not making any mistakes. So we know that there's going to be like a bit of a romance between Indy and Mikos. It's basically on the blurb. That's just starting to blossom now, which is really interesting. So I was worried there might be cheating in this because it wasn't clear from the blurb that her and Will were going to break up beforehand. They have, so we don't need to worry about any of that. I'm really enjoying the sister aspect to this, and I'm really enjoying how different the two sisters are. Like obviously Indy is this very put together, organised, like hyper aware, hyper fixated Virgo, basically. She's giving high Virgo energy. And then we have Indy, who is a little bit more free, who wants to sort of like live a little bit more. And it's interesting seeing both of their opinions on the situation, and it's also nice to see how they sort of learn from each other. They have things to learn from each other. They also have things to learn from each other's mistakes. Yeah, really enjoying that whole dynamic. The romance between Indy and Mikos hasn't really started yet, so I'm interested to see how that one blossoms. I'm pretty sure that I know exactly where this one is going. Like, it's obviously a very formulaic romance, it's very predictable, but that's not a bad thing. It's just a nice, fun, fluffy summer read. And yeah, very much enjoying it. But since I'm halfway through that, it is time to put up our next poll. And I really want to choose books for this one that I also can get on audiobook on Scribd, because I want to do like a little bit of tidying and possibly go for a walk while also still reading. So I managed to find two books that I am really interested in reading, both of which I was hoping to get to this month anyway, and they're both on Scribd. So we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This one is just everywhere at the minute, let's be honest. Like, I've heard such amazing things about it. To be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I kind of wanted to go into this one blind. All I know is that I love R.F. Kuang. I think she is such an impressive human being and I love her writing. So I have really high hopes for this one. I also have Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas, which is on my August TBR. This one is obviously like very different. These are two very different books, whereas all the polls so far have been like similar genres, like similar sort of vibes. But I don't know, I'm just intrigued by both of these and I'd be really happy no matter which one wins. I've heard such conflicting things about this one, so I'd really like to form my own opinion of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop a poll up for these. Add poll. Okay, that one is now up on Instagram as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one and then we'll find out what the next read is. I think whatever wins this one will probably be my last read of the readathon. I'm having like a much more chill day today. I don't really want to like force myself to read too quickly. I just want to have a nice cozy reading day. And honestly, 4 books in 24 hours will be pretty good. Guys, I've made such a boo-boo. Out of interest, I just went to look at the audiobooks to see how long they are, to see if I'll be able to finish them on 2 times speed today. And the Punk 57 audiobook is in Spanish. So I kind of need Yellowface to win, like kind of really need Yellowface to win. I really want an audiobook for this afternoon because there's stuff I want to do. Let's have a look at the poll just now, just to see like, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. Okay, Yellowface is currently winning. Yellowface is currently at 63% and Punk 57 is at 37%. So if it could just stay that way, that would be fabulous. I am so dumb. Like, I didn't even realise that Scribd did audiobooks in different languages. Like, why? What is wrong with me? So yeah, everyone pray for me that by the time I finish Love on the Island, Yellowface is still winning. Alrighty guys, we have just over 5 hours left of reading and I've just finished Love on the Island by Jessica Gilmore, and I'm really conflicted about what I want to rate this one. I'm not entirely sure yet if it's going to be a 3.5 or a 4. I did really enjoy this one. I really loved everything in this book about learning to like not have a plan, learning to like be more free, live a little bit more spontaneously, the fact that you can still plan and be organised but enjoy life a little bit more. I feel like that's a lesson I continually need to teach myself. I really loved the romance in this one and how that blossomed throughout, and I loved the sisterhood and also the relationship with their mum as well, like the 3 Drew women, seeing seeing their relationship was just really nice to read about. It was also really interesting reading about how she worked through her breakup with Will and how it was a shock at first, but like the more the book goes on, she realises that she wasn't happy either and he wasn't right for her, and that is a journey that I have been on myself. So it was really interesting to read that on paper. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if it's a 3.5 or a 4 yet. I think I'm gonna let this one sort of like brew for a little while I read the next book, and then I will hopefully have decided on a rating at the end when we do the little wrap up. But it is time to read our next book, and thankfully Yellowface has won the poll at 61%. So I am going to be reading Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Like I said, I do want to start this one on audiobook. I don't know if I'm going to read the entire thing on audiobook or if I'll maybe switch to physical later. But I'm just in the mood to give the bedroom a proper tidy and clean and make it really cozy and fresh. I have been starting to feel a little bit anxious, and I know that like having a nice clean space is one of the best things I can do for myself, and the idea of getting cozy tonight, like in a candle, in a nice clean room, is exactly what I need. So I'm going to pop the audiobook on for this while I do a little bit of tidying, a little bit of sprucing, and then I may go on to the physical book later. Like once I've made it all comfy and cozy, I may just like sit in bed and read the book. I'm not entirely sure yet. I have looked at the audiobook, and the audiobook for this one is 11 hours. I do listen to audiobooks on 2 times speed, but we literally have 5 hours left. So if we're going by audiobook times, I'm probably not going to finish this in the readathon, but I do tend to read physically faster than I listen to the audiobook. So if I start on the audiobook and then move to the physical, we may just about finish this book within the readathon, which would be great. I would really like to finish 4 books. For some reason, I feel like I've just not read that much. Like I feel like this hasn't been a successful readathon. But at the same time, I've literally read 3 books. So I mean, I'd call that successful. If I was watching someone else's vlog, I'd be like, oh my god, yeah, well done them. But I think because the last one was so successful, I'm like comparing it to that. But that was all romance books, and romance books just read so much quicker than like anything else. I think it's just like the mood I've been in this weekend. I have been really tired. I've been a busy gal recently, and I just wanted to take it a little bit more chilled, and there is nothing wrong with that. So I need to stop like beating myself up for it. But yeah, I'm gonna go put my headphones on and get started on Yellowface. Guys, it is now the next day. Once again, I finished the readathon around 10 o'clock, and that is just not the time to be wrapping up a readathon, so we're doing it now. But I did actually end up finishing Yellowface just as the timer was about to go off, so that was my 4th book of the readathon, and I'm gonna give this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. It was so witty and like dark humour, satirical, so much fun to read, and it was one of those books that yes, you're reading from the perspective of a really unlikable character, which obviously is the point, but sometimes the character for me is too unlikable and I just cannot enjoy the story. This one, because it was kind of like making fun of this unlikable character throughout, like the whole time you knew the sort of tone that R.F. Kuang was writing in, it was really enjoyable to read and it didn't annoy me at any point. I just sort of like laughed at how horrendous this woman was. Like I always say, I love reading about writing, about books, about the publishing industry. That is the whole point of this book, and it is so much much fun to like see the ins and outs of that, obviously from a sort of skewed perspective, but obviously there's also a lot of like really true points about the publishing industry in this as well. I did listen to the audiobook of this one and I loved the audiobook. I would highly recommend the audiobook because I think the person narrating the main character in this does such a good job. She really gets her voice right. Like that's exactly how I would expect her to speak and how I would expect her to like emphasize certain points. I don't know, I imagined that voice in my head anyway, so I thought that was perfect. If you don't know, we basically follow this woman called June who, her writing career isn't doing too well, and her friend Athena, her career is doing very well. And then one night Athena dies in a freak accident and June manages to get hold of the manuscript that she was working on and very close to finishing. June edits it so it is more hers, but it's still very much Athena's idea, and ends up publishing it. It becomes a bestseller. And then we get more of like a thriller aspect when there are times that it looks like she's gonna be outed and people are gonna know what she's done. So you've got this really like addictive, thrilling aspect to the novel, trying to see whether her downfall is gonna come or not. But also it's just really interesting to see how she feels about the publishing industry and the absolute white privilege she has, because the book that she steals from Athena is a Chinese woman and the book is about Chinese history, and it's supposed to make points about how Chinese people have been treated, and Juniper, as a very white woman, edits this so that she feels better about herself and her white editor feel a little bit better about themselves. It's just really interesting to see Juniper's feelings throughout on that and how she looks at racism. Spoiler alert, she's off a racist. Yeah, I just think this is honestly like a masterpiece. I think Arif Kwan's writing is incredible and I need to read more of her books, because I know everything she's written so far has been very different, but I love The Poppy War for what that was, and now I've loved Yellowface as well. So I feel like I just love Arif Kwan no matter what she's writing. But that was my 4th book of this readathon, so we did end up finishing all 4 of these books picked for me by Instagram. Obviously we had The Very Secret Society of Witches, first of all, a very cozy fantasy with all the best witchy vibes. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, loved it. We then went for something very different and you guys chose None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, her newest release, which is my favourite Lisa Jewell so far. Honestly, such a good thriller, 4.5 stars. Highly recommend. Instagram then chose Love Is in the Air by Jessica Gilmore. I think I'm going to settle on 3.5 stars for this one. I did really enjoy it and there's lots of parts about it that I did find very memorable and very relatable, and I really enjoyed Jessica Gilmore's exploration of quite a few sort of adult-y things. But it just didn't give me quite the same feels as my favourite romances do, and that's the reason I feel like it needs to be a 3.5, because if I think of a 4-star romance, it just gets me more in my feels than this one does. But still, definitely a great book, would definitely recommend. And finally we of course had Yellowface by Arif Kwan. You guys just heard my thoughts about this one, 4.5 stars. So overall a really successful readathon. Thank you guys so much for getting involved. It was so much fun doing it as an Instagram chooses my TBR. It's definitely something I want to do again, and it just takes the pressure off of me having to choose as well, which sometimes is the hardest part of a readathon. Like sometimes I spend most of my time in the readathon just trying to choose my next book. If you made it to the end of this video, pop the lemon emoji down below just to let me know that you made it to the end and that you enjoyed your time here. But as always, if you did enjoy the video, please do give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more bookish content from me. Comment down below with any of your thoughts and feelings. I do reply to every single comment. I love you all and I'll see you in my next one.